What if the reason your life isn't changing has nothing to do with your goals and everything to do with how you start your mornings? Not your talent, not your past, not even your circumstances, just your first hour. Because think about it. You wake up, your eyes open, and before you even sit up, your mind is already running. Notifications, stress, that one thing you didn't finish yesterday. That quiet voice saying, "You're already behind." And just like that, the day owns you, not the other way around. Be honest. Does this feel familiar? You don't feel lazy. You don't feel incapable. You just feel off. Like you're living your life in reaction mode, always catching up, always slightly overwhelmed, always telling yourself, tomorrow will be different. But it rarely is. And that's where it gets uncomfortable. Because deep down, you already know something's wrong. You just don't know what to fix. So you try everything. New routines, motivation videos, late-night promises to wake up early and change your life. But then morning comes, and you hit snooze. Again and again. And suddenly, that version of you, the disciplined one, the focused one, it feels like a different person entirely. Like someone you could be, but aren't. And here's the part most people won't admit. It's not that you don't have discipline. It's that your mornings are deciding your identity before you even get a say. Let that sink in. Before you choose your thoughts are choosing you. Before you decide your focus, your distractions are deciding it for you. And once that happens, the rest of your day, it's just a chain reaction. But this is where things start to shift. Because what if I told you, you don't need to fix your entire life. You don't need a complete reset. You don't need to become a different person overnight. You just need to take control of one thing. The first hour after you wake up. That's it. Sounds simple, right? Almost too simple. So why does almost nobody do it? Why do we keep waking up the same way, even when we know it's not working? Think about that for a second. Because this isn't about time. You have an hour. Everyone does. This is about something deeper. It's about resistance, that invisible force that pulls you back into comfort, into old habits, into the version of you that feels safe, but stuck. And here's the truth that changes everything. Your first hour isn't just part of your day. It's the blueprint of your day. Mess it up, and you spend the next 10 hours trying to recover. Win it, and everything else gets easier. Not perfect, but easier. And that's the edge you've been missing. But wait till you hear this. The real problem isn't what you're doing in that first hour. It's what you're not doing. Because most people wake up and immediately consume. They scroll, they check, they react. They let the world pour into their mind before they've even had a second to think for themselves. It's like starting your day by handing over control. No wonder you feel scattered. No wonder you feel behind. You never actually started your day. You just continued someone else's. And here's a quiet truth most people avoid. I used to think I was just not a morning person. Like some people are wired for discipline and others aren't. But that wasn't true. The real issue? I was training my brain every morning to be distracted, to be reactive, to be out of control. So of course it felt hard to focus later. So of course motivation didn't last. I wasn't broken. I was just conditioned. And that changes everything. Because if it's conditioning, it can be rewired. If it's a pattern, it can be broken. If it's a habit, it can be replaced. But here's where it gets real. You can't fix it by trying harder. You fix it by becoming aware of what's actually happening in that first hour. Because right now, that hour is shaping your identity, quietly, consistently, every single day. You either start as someone in control or someone trying to regain control. There's no neutral. So the real question is, which one are you when you wake up? Not who you want to be, not who you plan to become. Who are you in that first hour? Take a second. Don't answer fast, because your honest answer, that's where your real life begins. And in the next part, we're going to break something you've probably believed for years, that mornings are about discipline, because they're not. They're about something much deeper, something most people completely miss. And once you see it, you won't be able to go back to your old mornings again. Because here's what nobody tells you. Mornings aren't about discipline. They're about identity. That version of you that wakes up and takes control doesn't do it because they feel like it. They do it because that's who they've decided they are. And right now, whether you realize it or not, you've already decided yours. Not consciously, but through repetition, through patterns, through what you do without thinking. Now pause for a second. When your alarm goes off, what's the first thing you usually do? Not what you wish you did, what you actually do. Do you reach for your phone? Do you delay getting up? Do you start thinking about everything you don't want to do? That moment right there, that's not just a habit. That's your identity showing up. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Your identity isn't built by your goals. It's built by your defaults. What you do when you're tired, what you do when no one's watching, what you do when it's easier not to try. That's the real you. Now this is where it shifts, because instead of asking, how do I become more disciplined? You start asking, who do I need to be the moment I wake up? That question changes everything, because now it's not about forcing actions. It's about stepping into a role. Now imagine this. Your alarm goes off. Same time, same room, same life. But this time, you don't negotiate. You don't overthink. You don't reach for your phone. You just sit up. Calm, clear, intentional. Not because you're motivated, but because that's who you are now. Now here's the part that surprises people. That version of you, it doesn't feel intense. It feels quiet, focused, almost effortless, because there's no internal debate. And that's the real energy drain most people don't see. It's not the work. It's the constant negotiation. Should I get up? Should I check my phone? I'll start in 5 minutes. That mental back and forth, it's exhausting. And you haven't even started your day yet. Now think about this. How much energy are you wasting before your day even begins? Be honest, because this next part, this is where it gets real. If you lose the first decision of your day, you're more likely to lose the next one, and the next, and the next. Not because you're weak, but because your brain follows patterns. Win early and you build momentum. Lose early and you start chasing it. Now here's the shift. You don't need a perfect morning routine. You need a protected morning. There's a difference. A perfect routine tries to do everything. A protected morning focuses on what matters most and eliminates what doesn't. Now let me ask you something. What's the first thing your mind consumes every morning? Is it your goals, your thoughts, your intentions, or is it noise, notifications, social media, other people's lives? Because whatever you consume first sets the tone for everything that follows. And most people, they start their day by feeding their mind junk, then wonder why they feel distracted. Now here's a thought that might hit. You wouldn't start your day eating trash food, so why start it with trash input? Think about that, because your mind is just as sensitive as your body. Now this next part, this is where things deepen, because once you stop consuming first thing, you create space. And in that space, something powerful happens. You start thinking, not reacting, not absorbing, thinking about your life, your direction, what actually matters today. And that clarity,
It's rare, because most people never give themselves that silence. They fill it immediately. Now pause. When was the last time you sat with your own thoughts without reaching for distraction? Really think about it, because that silence, that's where control begins. Now here's where resistance shows up again, because your brain isn't used to that space. It wants stimulation, it wants noise, it wants the familiar, and when it doesn't get it, it gets uncomfortable. But that discomfort, it's not a problem, it's a sign that you're breaking the pattern. Now this next part, this is where everything starts to connect, because once you control what you don't do in the morning, you gain control over what you do. And that's when things start to feel different. But there's one mistake people make here that ruins everything. And if you don't catch it early, you'll fall right back into your old routine.
Because the mistake is trying to do too much, too fast, too perfectly. You wake up inspired. You decide, this is it. New routine, new life. You plan everything. Wake up early, work out, journal, meditate, read. No phone, total focus. And for a moment, it feels powerful. Like you've finally figured it out. But then morning comes, and reality hits. You're tired. Your mind is foggy. That motivation? Gone. And suddenly, that perfect routine feels impossible. So you skip one thing, then another. And before you know it, you're back to your old habits. Now here's the truth most people don't want to hear. You didn't fail because you're undisciplined. You failed because your plan had no respect for reality. Now pause. How many times have you tried to change everything and ended up changing nothing? Be honest, because this is where things shift. You don't need a better plan. You need a simpler one. Now this next part, this is where it gets real. If you want to win your first hour, you need to lower the barrier, but raise the standard. Let me explain. Lower the barrier means making it easy to start. Raise the standard means you don't negotiate once you begin. Now imagine this. Instead of trying to build a perfect routine, you focus on just 3 things. That's it. 3 actions that define your morning. Simple, clear, non-negotiable. Now here's the key. They have to matter. Not random habits, not things that look productive, things that actually move your life forward. Now let me ask you something. If you could only do 3 things every morning that would improve your life over time, what would they be? Think about it, because this is where clarity matters. Now here's where most people get it wrong. They choose things based on effort, not impact. They pick what feels impressive instead of what actually works. But this isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters most, consistently. Now this next part, this is where discipline becomes real. Because once you choose those 3 things, you commit. Not emotionally, not when you feel like it, but daily, no matter what. Now pause. Are you someone who follows through, or someone who resets every week? That question might sting a little, but it's important, because your life isn't built on intentions, it's built on consistency. Now here's a shift most people never make. They rely on motivation to start, but the people who actually change, they rely on structure. They remove decisions, they remove options, they make it automatic, because every extra decision is a chance to fail. Now think about your current mornings. How many decisions are you making before you even start your day? Too many, and every one of them drains you. Now imagine the opposite. You wake up, you already know what to do. No thinking, no debating, just action. That's power. Now this next part, this is where things deepen again. Because once you start building consistency, something unexpected happens. You begin to trust yourself. Not in a loud way, not in a "I've made it" way, just quietly. You say you'll do something, and you do it. And that changes how you see yourself. Now let me say something important. Self-confidence doesn't come from success. It comes from self-trust. And self-trust is built in moments like these. Early mornings, small actions, kept promises. Now pause. When was the last time you fully trusted yourself? Not hoped, not wished, trusted. Because this is where everything connects. When you win your first hour, you're not just being productive, you're building identity, the kind that doesn't break under pressure. Now here's where most people stop. They build a routine. It works for a while, and then life happens. They get busy, they get tired, they skip a day, then another, and slowly, they fall back. Now this next part, this is where everything either sticks or disappears. Because it's not about never slipping. It's about how you respond when you do. And this is where most people lose. Because eventually, you will slip. You'll wake up late, you'll feel off, you'll skip your routine. Not because you're lazy, because you're human. And this is the moment that decides everything. Not the perfect mornings, not the streak you built, but the morning after you break it. Now here's what most people do. They miss one day and, mentally, they reset everything. I'll start fresh next week. I already messed up. What's the point now? And just like that, one missed morning becomes 5, then 10, then you're right back where you started. Now pause. Does that pattern feel familiar? Because this is where most people lose, not in failure, but in overreaction to failure. Now here's the shift. You stop trying to be perfect and start becoming consistent. There's a difference. Perfection says, I can't mess up. Consistency says, I don't quit. And that mindset, that's what actually builds change. Now imagine this. You miss your routine. Old you spiral, you delay, you restart later. New you adjust. Maybe you don't do all 3 habits, maybe you only do 1, but you still show up. You still protect the identity, and that's what keeps the momentum alive. Now let me ask you something. Are you someone who quits when it's not perfect, or someone who adapts and keeps going? Don't answer quickly, because your answer, that's your future. Now this next part, this is where everything locks in, because once you understand this, you stop seeing mornings as a task and start seeing them as a signal of who you are becoming every single day. Now here's the deeper truth. Winning your first hour isn't about the hour. It's about what that hour represents. Control, clarity, direction. Because if you can control the start of your day, you're no longer living randomly. You're living intentionally. And that changes everything. Now think about your life right now. The stress, the overthinking, the feeling of being behind. What if a big part of that comes from how your days begin? Not everything, but enough to matter. Because when your mornings are chaotic, your mind stays chaotic. When your mornings are reactive, your life feels reactive. But when your mornings are controlled, something shifts. You feel different. Not rushed, not scattered, grounded, focused, clear. Now here's a thought that might stay with you. If you win the first hour, you don't spend the rest of the day trying to fix it. You build on it. And that's where momentum lives. Now pause. Which version of your day do you want? The one you're constantly chasing, or the one you're building on? Because that choice, it happens the moment you wake up, every single day. Now here's where it all comes together. You don't need to change your entire life overnight. You don't need a perfect routine. You don't need endless motivation. You just need to take ownership of your first hour.
protect it, simplify it, respect it. Because that hour, it's not just time, it's leverage. It's where your identity is shaped. It's where your direction is set. And most people, they give it away without even realizing it. Don't be most people. Now here's a quiet challenge. Tomorrow morning, when you wake up, pause, just for a second, and ask yourself one question. Am I starting this day or reacting to it? That's it, because that question alone can change everything. And if this hits something real for you, don't ignore it. Don't just feel motivated for a moment and go back to the same routine. Do something with it, even if it's small, because small actions, done consistently, create real change. Now imagine a version of you a few weeks from now. You wake up with clarity. You know what to do. You follow through, not perfectly, but consistently. And your life? It starts to feel different, lighter, more controlled, more intentional. That's what you've been looking for. Not more time, better starts. Because when you win your first hour, you don't just win your morning. You start winning your life. And if this made you think, even a little differently, stay with it. Subscribe and keep building a life you're actually proud to wake up to.